very warm welcome to you all. This is the first day of the Visegrad Film Forum, but the second day of the CEE Animation Masterclass. The 8th edition of the Masterclass is organized by the Slovak Association of Animated Film Producer in collaboration with CEE Animation, the Visegrad Film Forum, as we already mentioned, and the Film and Television Faculty of the Academy of Performing Arts in Bratislava. Please let me also thank the financial partners, the Slovak Audiovisual Fund and Media Creative Europe. Today's program, as you already know, features a masterclass by Ádám Felszeghy, and his presentation will last about an hour, followed by a Q&A session with the audience. We'll be recording the whole event, so please remember to keep your mobile phones silenced during the whole event. And now please let me welcome our today's speaker, Ádám Felszeghy. Ádám is a Hungarian film producer working across different genres. He is focusing on cutting-edge storytelling and innovative forms of narration. His filmography includes the fiction features All About the Lefkoviches and The First Two, and several shorts. But today he will offer us a look behind the scenes of the successful animated feature Pelikan Blue, directed by László Csáky. I assume that most of you saw the film yesterday, so I won't keep you any longer. And Ádám, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Barbara.
Enjoy the masterclass.
Thank you. I don't do this. So, hello and welcome. First of all, I would like to thank you, Barbara, for the introduction, and also thank you for inviting me here, for having me here. Thank you for the Visegrad Film Forum and also the organizers and everybody here who made it available to hold this masterclass today. So, first of all, I would like to note that if it is possible, I would like to keep this interactive. So please feel free anytime to ask, to comment, if you want me to get into details of anything you see or hear. And and I would like to ask you exactly, so how many of you have watched the film already? Please raise your hands. Okay. So, and how many of you are from Hungary? Okay. So I will speak a little bit about the film itself for those who haven't watched the film already. So Pelikan Blue is Hungary's first feature-length animated documentary film, directed by László Csáky. László Csáky is a Hungarian fine artist and also an animation tutor at the Hungarian University. And the film was produced in the National Film Institute's incubator program, which is a program for debut filmmakers, so first-time filmmakers. The film is about the train ticket forgery in 1990s Hungary. So it's basically about three guys finding an easy way to forge international train tickets after the fall of communism, after the collapse of the Iron Curtain, in order to travel, in order to experience the Western world. But of course, an action like this, so forging, always comes at a price. So they have to flee from authorities. And I leave this here like a cliffhanger. So please, if you haven't already, watch the film and you will understand and you will see. But I would like to show you the trailer of the film so you can get a hint of the story and of the visual style. And so please.
Nekem a saját anyám azt tanított, hogy más embertől lopni bűncselekmény, az államtól dicsőség.
Ez volt az alapötlet, alakítsuk át.
megnyíltak a határok, és mindenki menni akart. Mert mindenütt jó, csak otthon nem annyira.
Egész egyszerűen nem fér bele a költségvetésbe, hogy jegyet vegyünk.
Nem az volt, hogy ültünk, és azon gondolkoztunk, hogy bűnözni kell, mert abba van a pénz. Nem, mi csak utazni akartunk.
Thank you. So as you could see, it's a hybrid film. So it's both a documentary and an animation film. So every audio recordings are documentary recordings. The recordings were made with the train ticket forgers, with users, so people who traveled with forged train tickets between 1989 and 2001. And also with some railway workers and the authorities, so mostly the policemen who investigated this whole case, actually. So what really was a hard thing for us in this film, that we didn't have this before. So it's a really new genre, which of course has a lot of references, like What's with Bashir or with Flea, which just came out when we were already in production. But actually it was quite a free territory, so we had the chance to play around with this genre and to form it as we wanted. And actually, László Cseky, the director, is quite sure that animated documentaries can have many forms. So it's not like it's this or that, but it's really as you want it to be. I'm not sure if you are familiar with other animated documentaries, but there is, for example, Chris the Swiss, which is half shot, half animated, and it's still in the genre, but it's very different from our film. We knew from the very beginning that we wanted entirely animated, because first of all, we wanted to keep the anonymity of our protagonists. Back then, we really thought, or they really thought it would be necessary, because even though it's a misdemeanor or it's a smaller crime, they didn't want to be very open regarding it to the press, to their families. So they wanted to give their voice but hide their faces. And secondly, because László is an animation expert and artist, he really found it obvious to put together his designs with the characters who gave their voices to this film. So I would like to speak a little bit about my background, how I got into this production, because this was my very first film, animated film, that I produced, and my very first film that I started to produce as well. And it was quite a challenge for me. I started in 2018 when I started to work at the production company, Umbrella. And Umbrella is a quite big production company in Hungary. We are more than 100 workers there. And we mostly produce post-production, but we also do TV commercial. We used to be an agency as well, creative agency. And right now we have, for example, an AI department, which is brand new. And Umbrella is not only the name, but it's a concept. So the leaders would like to keep it as an umbrella organization, so to gather as many talents from different fields as possible. So I came to this company to develop films and to get public fundings for those projects that I developed. That was in 2018. And that film, so Pelikan Blue, in an earlier version, was already in the roster. back then. So László, with my boss, who was actually my producing partner on this film, Miklós Kázmér, they worked on this film for years in 2018. So back then I met an animatic of 22 minutes. So they planned it to be a short animation or short animated film, but they didn't get funded. But even before that, so László originally wanted this film to be a fiction film, a live action fiction film. And he recorded the interviews only to have some material, to have some research material for this fiction feature film. But, and why he did that? Because he, as a student, used this ticket to travel to Paris to study there. So he had a first-hand experience with those forged train tickets, and he had an experience of meeting the Western world and opening these possibilities after the regime change in Hungary. So he really thought that this action, this forging, is rather a kind of freedom fight in order to the communist bloc to explore Western Europe and Western culture. And he wanted to shoot a film about that. So he approached the original forgers he bought the tickets from, and they started to record these interviews as a research material. But he quickly realized that these guys are too good. So they had really funny sentences. They had a really funny view of how this forging, how this crime, to say so, changed the perception of youngsters or community in Budapest and in other Hungarian cities. And that was the time when he decided to keep this a documentary. And because he's a fine artist, he's an animation tutor, he decided to combine these things. And between that time and when I arrived into the production, they planned to make a short animation film. And they applied, but the application was rejected all the time. And when I came into the picture, we decided together that it should be a long form. So we had to gather more threads of stories that when besides the forgers, the travelers came in. We posted an online call for people to send us their stories of using those fake tickets, how it changed their lives, how it affected their lives, if they went to study somewhere, if they went to work, if they traveled for love, if they traveled to play music, for example, on the streets. A lot of Hungarian beggars, for example, fled to Western Europe back those days. And we received more than 100 stories. So we had enough material for a feature film. And we also approached the authorities, and we found this policeman who investigated the whole case. And we found people who worked at the Hungarian state railways back then. So it was pretty clear that we can apply for the money to this incubator program, this first-time filmmaker program. And we were lucky enough to win this money for production. And that's when we started to create the form that you can see on the screen right now. So the final form of the film. But before that, we had a completely different style. So László had a lot of short films, both documentaries, both animation films. He actually owns the highest ranking Hungarian prize for film directors, the Balázs Béla Prize. So he was quite established and well known. He just didn't have a feature film yet. And when he started to work on this film, he used his old style, which is black and white chalkboard animation with empty-headed characters. I will show an excerpt of the old style because we started to make an animation in his old style and with his old figures. But later on, we decided to change that. You can decide if it became better or worse.
Büszkélkedtünk, és ma is büszkék lehetünk, hogy minden magyar állampolgár szabadon utazhat. Bush elnök is örömmel vitte haza a vasfüggöny darabkáját.
Megnyíltak a határok, és mindenki menni akart.
Hogy az az utazási lehetőség, amit ez biztosított, az fontosabb volt annál, mint hogy ezt megkockáztassák, hogy elveszítsék. Egész egyszerűen elmondtuk nekik, hogy mik azok a szabályok, amiket be kell tartani ahhoz, hogy most utazhasson, meg utána legközelebb is utazhasson.
Kicsit meg kellett ijeszteni őket, hogy azért figyeljenek oda. Ez nem olyan, hogy valamit leveszel a polcra, azt kifizeted.
Mondjuk, mert ugye ez alapszabály volt, ezt felállítottuk az elején, hogy ezt a jegyet magyar kalauz nem láthatja.
Mert az nem olyan hülye.
Az nem annyira hülye.
Hogy valaki 120 000-ért elmegy Londonba.
Így van.
Nem használni belföldön, mire kell vigyázni külföldön, öltözzön fel normálisan.
Jegyet nem hagyunk a kalauznál. Tehát, hogyha azt látod rajta, hogy ő észreveszi, hogy gyanús a történet, akkor el kell törölni és meg kell lenni egyet kész. Tehát nem maradhatott a jegy nála.
A legteljesebb lelki nyugalommal a farzsebedből a félbehajtott jegyet, mert mit számít neked az a 150 000 forint, ami rá van írva, érted? Azt szépen odadod, mosolyogsz, és kész. És szeretni fogja, ugyanis a kalauz csak hamis jegyet látott addig. De hát nem tudja összehasonlítani az igazival, nem? Eszébe sem jut.
Ez senkinek nyugaton.
Senki, hogy ilyen létezik.
Nem megteheti.
De mivel az igazi sahánypénztár annyiféle
Így van.
stílus, annyiféle indigó szín, annyiféleképpen ír azon ő.
És emlékeztek?
Tehát egyszerűen nem volt egy standard, ami alapján a kalauzás tudta dönteni, hogy ez hamis, vagy nem.
Mivel emberek írták kézzel, azért gyakorlatilag mindegyik más volt.
Tök mindegy, mit adtál oda a kalauznak.
Nem,
És
nem
hát
is
normális
tudtam.
ember az már akkor is tudta, hogy jobb megijedni, mint félni. Tehát ez a leghülyébb magyar mondás, hogy jobb félni, mint megijedni. Nem, fordítva. Ha félsz, az lebénít, az hosszú távon gyilkol. Ha megijedsz, az meg inspirál, összekapod magad, ösztöneid egyből a maximumra ugranak, és tudsz teljesíteni normális esetben. Félni nem szabad semmitől. Attól csak magaddal baszol ki. Nagyon.
I'm going to talk about a little bit about the process of building the structure of this film, but if you have any questions so far, please feel free to ask. Okay, so actually we recorded more than 40 hours of audio interviews with both the train ticket forgers, the travelers who use these tickets, and the authorities and the railway workers. So we had quite a lot of material. We didn't have tools like AI back then, so we had to script everything. So we had to type them line by line, which was really a pain in the ass. So we had long pages of descriptions of the stories that we have from all these different people. And what we did together with Laszlo, and that was actually the best part of the work that we did together, that we put on index cards those stories. So we tried to summarize every story and put on an index card, and we just glued it on the wall on the studio. And when we had 2 walls full of index cards, we tried to arrange them in an order to make a storyline. And we were very careful to have enough twists and turns and have enough information as well. And I really wanted to keep this an engaging and a film that somebody can watch as if it was a fiction film. So we really wanted to put as many twists and turns into it as possible. And the stories we had such different scopes from different eras, actually. So train ticket forgery happened before the regime change and after 2010. So we just had to cut, we had to find a focus. And that was the time when we decided to work with mostly the three main protagonists, the three train ticket forgers, and this time period between 1989 and 2001. It's maybe it's not really obvious from the film, but 2001 was a turning point, not only because more and more people were busted with those forged train tickets, but it was also the time when the first Hungarian low-cost airline, Wizz Air, started their services in Hungary, which really meant that people didn't need trains any longer to travel cheaply to Western Europe. So that was a convenient thing to work with 10 years and to work with guys László originally bought the tickets from. So it was a really creative process, and this is rather the documentary part of it, not the animation one. And that was the part when I was involved the most. So I could add a lot of my ideas into this story, and László was very open regarding it. And he was very, very happy that I had ideas like, for example, I just told him, let's make this clown guy. This is so funny. Let's make a horror sequence of this guy and the busted guys together that would work perfectly as a horror sequence. And it's in the final film. When we collected the music, for example, for the film, we were very careful to select every piece in order, in timeline. So when they were released, when they came out, that's the exact year they are in the film, on the timeline. And for example, I had the idea that when they have the house search, we should have this drum and bass track, because drum and bass was really a thing back then in Hungary. And actually we didn't purchase any specific track for that, but the music composer, Ambrus Tövisházy, who is a well-known electronic musician in Hungary, made a drum and bass track for this film. So I was really, really involved in the process, and I really liked this part of the process. And that's how we ended up with an animatic around 2021. And I just wanted to show some parts of the animatic, because I don't know if... Is anybody unfamiliar with what animatic is, or do you all know? Raise your hands if you know what an animatic is. Okay, almost everybody, but not everybody. So let's watch some at the beginning of the animatic. It's basically a simplified version of the film with simple line animation, simple drawings.
Lassan igaz, hogy a hölgy, hogy már háromszor örülnek a külföldi útnak. Egyszer, mikor készülnek, aztán, amikor ott vannak, és aztán, amikor hazaérnek. És most már mind gyakrabban a harmadszori öröm az igazi öröm. Aztán amikor megcsodálnak ilyen fejlett kapitalista országban egy metropolist, ahol a centrumban még éjfélkor is a neontól szinte napfény van. Menjenek el ennek a fénynek a határára, hogy ott mit látnak. És akkor ott fogják látni ezeket a kábítószerrel összeszurkált, rézengő emberformájú kísérteteket és a legfeketébb nyomort. Mert ez együtt jár. Menjenek el ennek a fénynek a határára, hogy ott mit látnak.
Grósz Károly közérzetjavító intézkedésre szánta rá magát, a világútlevél bevezetésére, a titokban összegyűjtött és rejtegetett dollárok és márkák legalizálására.
A legjobb időszak az a 87, amikor elindult valami, és a választásokig, 90.
Gyakorlatilag egyik napról a másikra megnyíltak a határok, akkor egyből azon kezdtünk el gondolkodni, hogy hova utazunk.
Azok a dolgok, amitől rettegtünk, azok hirtelen teljesen jelentéktelenné váltak.
Illetve, hogy egy teljesen más világ jön, ahova mi fiatalként érkezünk meg.
Tényleges sajtó, szólás, lelkiismereti, oktatási és társulási, szervezkedési szabadságot! A jóvátéhetetlen károk megelőzése érdekében követeljük az építkezések leállítását.
Az oktatók, minthogyha végre szabad lehetett volna arról beszélni, amiről mindig is szerettek volna beszélni.
Mi békét akarunk, és demokráciát!
Szólásszabadság, vallásszabadság, gyülekezési jog.
Divat lett mindent tagadni, akár van indoka, akár nincs.
Valódi népképviseletet és több pártrendszer!
Nemek egyenlősége, alkotmányosság, demokrácia, és így dőlt belőlük.
Mi az ő sorsukból tanultuk meg, hogy a demokrácia és a kommunizmus összeegyeztethetetlen. Céljaink máig nem változtak. Ma sem engedünk 48-ból, így nem engedhetünk 56-ból sem.
Bejött az MTV, a Super Channel, a Sky Channel.
A zenék bejöhettek, amit korábban pult alól.
Így benne voltunk a forgásban, tehát ott zajlott a szemünk előtt ez az egész.
A mai naptól 1989. október 23-ától országunk államformája és neve Magyar Köztársaság.
Hatalmas nagy bizakodás, hogy itt akkor saját magunk kezébe vesszük a dolgunkat.
Azt a hangulatot, azt a közösségi összetartozást, amit akkor éreztem, azt azóta sem.
A demokrácia alapfeltétele, hogy kormányzó képes, eséllyel rendelkező ellenzék is legyen mindig.
Ma délután 3 órakor, azaz 15 órakor Záhonynál elhagyta az utolsó szovjet katona is Magyarország földjét.
Okay, so as you could see, there were some scenes that were cut out from the animatic. So in the final version, we don't have, for example, the speech of Viktor Orbán. It's very important that an animation film is edited 2 times. So it's one edited after the animatic, and that's the time when you can do most of the editing. Because animation is very expensive, and it's not like you can just cut out scenes, complete scenes, when the film is already animated. So we had to screen, for example, for the Hungarian Film Institute, not a first cut, but the animatic. And the animatic is basically like picture lock. So you have very, very small chance to modify the film after the animatic is logged. And the sound is already produced with the animatic, and after that it goes into a machinery of animation, and who knows what happens there. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. So that was the time when we decided to leave two things. One is black and white, or three things, because one is black and white, because it was advised by the National Film Institute that we should make it colorful, because it's easier to distribute that way. Secondly, we decided to hire a character designer, Máté Horesnyi, and László agreed to leave his empty-headed characters that you could see in the previous clip behind. And with this, a completely new style came into the film. And it was very funny because Máté didn't know the actual forgers. He just received their voices, the recordings of their interviews. And based on that, he had to think about characters. And when they met, actually, after the film was animated, it was very funny that he realized the guys from their voices, but he really couldn't imagine the guys in their real selves anymore, because it was such deeply in his mind with the animated characters. And after that, we went into frame-by-frame animation, which was done by our producing partner, Cinnamon Entertainment, and Réka Temple, co-producer. And they did the actual frame-by-frame animation in TV Paint. And how we split the work was actually, we did the pre-production of animation for them, so the keyframe animation, the layouts, the character designs, the backgrounds, etc. They did the frame-by-frame actual animation, and that came back to us where we put it together in compositing, and we did the post after that. And that work took from 2021 to 2023, the spring of 2023. So it took almost 3 years. And by that time, I worked on the project for 3 years, and László worked on the project for 10 years, approximately. So it's a really, really long time to get an idea of an animation film on the screen. And actually, so the division between producers was like this. So the development was started by my boss, by my partner in crime, the other producer, Miklós Kázmér. It was took over by me when we did the documentary editing and the documentary development. It went to Cinnamon Entertainment and Réka Temple for the actual animation, a little bit split by the two of us. And it came back to me when we did the final sound design, the Foley, and the post in picture. And of course, I was the one who dealt with distributors, sales agents, and things like that. And we premiered in Tallinn in 2023, which is an A-list film festival, so we were really happy that we were selected. And the film traveled, I think, to more than 30 festivals right now, and it's still in the circuit. It's running quite well. Right now, László Csáky, director, cannot be here because he's attending a festival in Japan, which is really cool because it's a very different culture and a really different, they have a really different view on animation. And it's such a a pleasure that they selected Pelikan Blue into their program as well. And we had a premiere, a Hungarian premiere, in April last year, and we had more than 25,000 admissions to the movie theaters, which is really cool because this is a niche genre, so it's very hard to get audiences for such a niche genre, even though it is culturally important and it has a nostalgic feeling for a lot of generation. And there are still some movie theaters in Hungary which has Pelikan Blue on their program, not very frequently, once in every 2 weeks and things like that, but it's still running. And it's on a Hungarian VOD platform as well, and it's going to arrive on HBO Max in May in Hungary. And we are very happy because we have a regional distribution right now, which is an alternative distribution. It's going to be distributed by Kinadoc. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but they don't distribute in movie theaters. They distribute at universities, schools, libraries, film clubs, even prisons. So I think it's a very cool approach towards this because, as I experienced, this film works best this way. Because people who watch this film really would like to understand the concepts behind and the techniques behind it. So it's very good for them to meet some of us, some of the authors, either Laszlo or me or some of the train ticket forgers. Actually, after the film was released, they were more relaxed and they are happy to go to special screenings right now, and they attend Q&As quite frequently. And how the audience reacted is also very interesting for me because we never had, for example, Gen Z in our target audience. We really thought it is mostly for Gen X, maybe for Gen Y, who could use this ticket or who used this ticket or who knew this time period, those iconic places that are depicted in the film. But it turned out that Gen Z can relate to this film maybe because of the editing and the layers, because it has a lot of layers. And when we were working on the film, I was very concerned regarding this because it was so thick. It had so many both visual and auditive layers that I was afraid that it will be hard to decode as an audience. But it just turned out that it really hides some treasures for Gen Z. And maybe because we didn't have the budget to create long shots, to create morphs and things like that, we had to use a lot of cuts from close-up to wide shots. That's a visual style that Gen Z is more used to. And because of that, we received a lot of positive reviews from Gen Z audiences. And they are actually one of the biggest fan base of the film. And yeah, actually, if you have any questions or comments at this point, I would really appreciate, because I'm sure there are many things I could talk about right now. I just came to the end of this storytelling, and probably it would be nice to talk about something that you are specifically interested in. And I also have some behind the scenes materials, both pictures and videos, so I will show that later. But if you have anything regarding what I just said, please tell me. Or we can skip to the behind the scenes. Okay, just one more. Yeah.
Please use the microphone.
Okay.
Wow.
This is the mic? Okay. Hi, I'm Csaba Molnár, Hungarian living in Slovakia, also director. I'm producing. Can you tell us something about the budgeting?
Yeah.
Because 10 years development and animation is very expensive. So how you get the financing?
Excellent question. It was very, very difficult. The budget was very, very low. So it was under €500,000, which is, I would say, mission impossible. Mm-hmm. We were very, very lucky because László is also an animation tutor, so he teaches at the university, and we had the chance to work with his students. Mm-hmm. We had also free workforce from our company, from Umbrella, and also Cinnamon Entertainment provided non-commercial budget for us. So, and we experienced a lot of difficulties during the productions. For example, we had this taxation system which was completely changed and prices went up. The same time we had the war broke out between Ukraine and Russia, prices went up. We had a change in the financing body, so from Hungarian National Film Fund, the Hungarian Film Institute came, so there was a change in the decision makers. So I think we experienced all the difficulties that we could. And how we survived, to say so, is that we stayed really focused on the goals, and we had to make a lot of compromises. So I don't know if you noticed or not, but the film doesn't operate with shadows at all. And we applied once again when we already had the support just to have the shadows. But they rejected this request from our end, and we wanted to focus on the storytelling and less. So we knew it's going to be a rough kind of animation. It's not going to be very beautiful and very elaborate. We just wanted to deliver the story, deliver the message. Also, there are some Super 8mm footages in the film, mostly depicting the objects of that time period. So telephones that are maybe not familiar for younger generations, and what else? Trains, clocks, things like that, which are reconstructed archives. And that also reduced the price of animation because we had to animate less. So we had to do some little tricks to reduce the budget, and we had the time to think, and that was the great thing about it, that we really had an opportunity to decide what was important and what wasn't important. And I think that's how we managed. But I also wanted to mention that the incubator program, so this first-time filmmaker program, shut down the animation support after, I think, our project, because there were only 3 in the pipeline. The first one left this program, and they actually became Slovakian co-production, White Plastic Sky, and they asked for a higher budget, which they received. The second one, unfortunately, was never finished, so it's an unmade movie, and we were the only one who could produce this film in this program. And I would say that back then, so in 2019, I took this film to a lot of international workshops. Like I was Sarajevo talent back then, so I took it to Sarajevo Pack and Pitch. I was in Lisbon Docs, where else? Doc Leipzig. And I had a lot of meetings, and a lot of people wanted to get in as a co-producer. And back then we thought that we don't need this because we want to come out with this film very quickly, very fast. Let's make it rough, let's make it easy. And back then I had no idea that it's going to take 5 years from then. So if I knew it back then, probably I would take this opportunity to make it a co-production and to have a higher budget. But it was actually my lack of experience in this field. So I really strongly advise, if you produce an animation film, make a co-production, you will have time to make the deals. The other problem was that this incubator program only let us to have a co-production of 20%, which was very low. And the markup of the 20% of this budget was so low that nobody was interested in. They wanted to bring in at least 50% of the money, which was impossible for us. So we should have left the program and start application for the average program. So it would be administrative overload, paperwork. So somehow we managed and we survived this way. But today I wouldn't choose this path, to be honest. Any other questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation. My question is, it seems to me a very big switch from black and white to color.
Yeah.
Was it hard to convince the director, or you were happy back then that
Not really. Actually, it didn't really. I didn't have to convince him. It was somebody from the Hungarian National Film Fund back then, and they talked, and he just came back to me that okay, we have to make this in color. And I was a little bit scared, to be honest, because I didn't know how much extra money would it cost. But at the end of the day, that wasn't the issue. We had a lot of other issues, but it wasn't a big issue.
And how do you know about this Gen Z feedback, or how you manage to collect that data about the audience?
First of all, we go to a lot of special screenings with a lot of Q&As. That's how this film works in distribution, to be honest. And we also received video reviews from YouTubers, from teenager YouTubers. And we were just shocked that we received some free commercial for this film. So, and we also receive fan letters who congratulate us. So that's how it's. Of course, it's not very representative, but we didn't expect that generation to be present at the screenings at all. So, if there are no other questions, we can move on to the. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have mentioned that you worked with the students, so did you pay them somehow?
Yes, of course, we paid everybody. We just couldn't pay the regular price or the commercial price for it. So it was a reduced price. But everybody who worked with us considered this as an opportunity. They really loved Laszlo and really wanted to work with him. So I think nobody felt it like, so everybody was happy with it, I guess. I guess, at least. We tried our best. Yeah, but I also wanted to tell that it's such a long process. So that was the first feature film I started to work on as a producer. Before that, I only produced shorts. And it was such a long process that I managed to produce 2 fiction live-action features the time this film came out. So I produced All About the Lefkoviches, which is also an incubator, so first-time filmmaker film, with also a very reduced budget, a little bit higher than this, but also very, very reduced. And I worked on an independent film, which wasn't supported by any governmental money. And both of these came out in 2000, and the first came out in 2023 and the other in 2024. So it was a very, very busy period of my life. And yeah, so animation can take some time. So if you start to work with animation, start to produce or direct or animate a film, you have to be really, really patient, and it's possible that the film you work on won't be the single project you are working on. So the animators who worked on Pelikan Blue worked on other films as well, other animation films as well, and it's different so I'm not a classical animation producer in the sense that I don't own a studio which produces animation films. But we work together with Cinnamon, and they are an established studio with workstations, with regular workforce, and they work every day on different projects, more films in the pipeline, and they have service productions, they have local films. So I think it should be considered, if you don't have a background with an animation studio but you want to produce an animated film, you really should collaborate with a bigger studio who have the capacity of this everyday production. Because if you purchase workstations, if you hire workforce for those, that will take away your complete budget. Yes? There's a question up there. Could you pass the mic?
Thank you for your speech. I wanted to ask about pitching. As you said, it's a niche genre. So I'm really interested in how do you pitch this kind of movie, and what are the key moments you try to highlight during the pitch, and maybe some advice?
Yes, that's a really good one. Actually, the pitching changed from workshop to workshop, so it's not like a constant thing. But a funny story about it, that I had a short elevator pitch version of it, which sounded like Catch Me If You Can meets Persepolis. And I didn't use it actually, but I think you can make different versions of your pitch, and different versions will work at different venues or at different events. And I think I gained the most experience from the very first one I attended, Sarajevo Pack and Pitch. And I had a really great tutor there, Nick, and we worked together on the log line and on the pitch. And I think the log line we worked on together is still the log line of the film at some places. But the key elements were, I think, the setting, so that it's in the 1990s Hungary, the protagonist, that there are three guys, youngsters, and the action of forging, so that they discover an easy method to forge international train tickets, and the goal, so to experience the external world or the Western culture after the fall of the communism in Hungary. So I think you just have to pick the most salient elements And that's sometimes it can be, I don't know if you're a director or a producer, but for me as a producer, it can be tricky because sometimes directors change the shift in their projects, and I'm used to a kind of pitching, and when they change the scope, I have to revise that. And I always try to encourage directors to find those 3 or 4 elements for a pitch that won't change, that you really want to talk about. And it really should involve the setting, the characters, the action, and the message, or something like that. And if you have that, I think you cover the most of it. Did it answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's look at some behind the scenes photos and videos, and after that we can come back to the questions, if you can think about other questions. Let's start with the photos. Thank you. So these are the character sheets. This is Laci, one of the main forgers. Okay, thank you. That's perfect. This is Ákos. This is a colored one. Yeah, it's the same without coloring. These are the initial character designs. This is he's László Csáky, director, working on anti-composition. This is how the music was produced. And yeah, I wanted to talk about this a little bit because László used a lot of references from other films, which I think is really cool. It's a really postmodern and really Gen Z thing again. And most of these I didn't know when we produced the film, so it just hit me as a surprise. And yeah, I had a lot of work with legal issues, which if you're interested in, I can get into. But it was really a long process. It took more years to make the clearances, both the music and both the visual rights. It was quite challenging. Yeah, it's for example that you can see the resemblance between Edward Hopper's Nighthawks and this espresso here, which is actually a Hungarian espresso called Bambi. And that's the place actually where I first met with László. Yeah, this is the Berlin Wall. And László often used reference photos to paint the backgrounds. Actually, almost all of the backgrounds were painted by László himself, which is more than 600. So it was quite a work. So to keep this in budget, we also gave László a lot of work. So he was really, really busy with this. He didn't have animation supervisor. He painted almost all of the backgrounds. He designed most of the non-main characters of the film. So he really had a lot on his hands. Yeah, another well-famous reference for the horror sequence. Yeah, and we also use these Super 8mm footages, which I think I already talked about. So it's not archive. We recorded them. And for example, when László went to Croatia at the summer to a holiday, he also worked. So he shooted this island, for example, which he later drew to put it into the film. So I think for 4 or 5 years, he really had no life compared to me. because I was working. I didn't have a life either, but I was working on other films as well. He didn't. Yeah, that's it. And let's watch the videos.
Yeah.
Forog!
Lacinak egyszer eszébe jutott, hogy jó lenne a szocialista autók hangjait használni. Ezeket finoman elhelyeztük, és reméljük, hogy majd akinek erre füle van, az majd rá tud ismerni ezekre a régi hangokra.
Én azt gondolom, hogy kipróbáltam minden szinten azokat a filmnyelvi és animációs technikai megoldásokat, amik a leginkább humorossá teszik és legjobban elmesélik a Kék Pelikán történetét.
Soha nem dolgoztam ebből a piros anyagban. De lehet, hogy kell
egy kis víz, nem?
A víz, igen, de...
A srácok azt mondták, hogy
lehet, hogy
a meleg az katalizálja a folyamatokat, és hogy ez végezte a durva munkát, a víz meg a piszkosat.
Még benne maradtak azért az írások, nyilván halványabban, de azért benne maradtak.
Szeretettel üdvözlöm a jelenlévő verkistákat. Tehát a Kádár János hangját fogom utánozni, Kalmacei Zoltán vagyok személyesen. 2023. június, ha jól emlékszem, június 2-át írunk. A Kék Pelikány című oktató rajzfilmben majd az én hangom fog szerepelni. Bízunk benne, nem vágja ki ezt is.
Okay, so the first clips showed how we recorded the Foley, which is quite tricky in Hungary because we don't really have Foley studios any longer in Hungary. So, for example, for my live action film, I had to make the Foley in Ljubljana, and we were really lucky to work with the only studio that provides Foley services right now in Hungary. But it meant that we had to do it ourselves. So Laszlo and also me. So we did like, we just had to record the steps by our own, and we had to put together things to make the noises. But it really speeded up the process and made it also cheaper. And we also wanted to find the socialist car park. So these old Ladas and Moskvich and whatever, and we found this guy who has a museum of these old cars, and we recorded all the sounds that those cars make. You could also see a video in which the real forgery happened. It was at a special screening where the forger guys were invited, and they showed the audience how the forging worked in real life, and they didn't succeed in this case, so they already forgot the know-how, unfortunately. Yeah, and the last clip you could see was about this legal issue that I mentioned before, that for some of the archives we had to do some tricks, little tricks, like re-recording the audio, because the Hungarian television gives archives on a really high price, and we didn't have money for that one. So the longest clip we re-recorded with this actor, with this guy who already did this job in another film, and the sound engineer was the same on both projects, so he knew well that Zoli can imitate the voice of János Kádár, who was the first secretary of Hungary before the regime change, and we started to work on this other archives with several lawyers, actually, because sometimes it's impossible to find the right owners. So even if you want to do your best, and even if you want to pay somebody for rights, which I think really should be public domain. So these are really for educational purposes, to show the audience the background, the historical scene in which our story takes place. But even if we want to pay for it, sometimes we cannot, because there are disputes between some parties. So not all of these archives came from the television, from the Hungarian national television. Some of them belongs to private entities who produced some programs to the Hungarian television back then, but it wasn't owned by the Hungarian television. And they, for example, had disputes over the rights. So we came up with this idea that we found, the lawyers working on it found the passage in the Hungarian law system, that if we have educational purposes and if we want to evoke this time and this cultural setting, we can use it for free if we publish the sources of the videos, which was also very difficult, to be honest, to find the exact sources back from the 80s, for example, but we really did our best. So with those little tricks, we could keep this film in budget. And we also had to contact with each and every rights owner of the logos that are appearing in the film. For example, you could see Kodak, you could see Domestos, you could see a lot of these products. And we emailed each of them and asked for permission to use it in the film. So it was a really, really big work, and it took for ages, really. So we started it when we had the finished animatic, when we even didn't know all of the brands that are going to be displayed in this film. But Laszlo really wanted it because he really felt that it makes the film more lively. It can bring back memories from the audience who lived back then. And sometimes they just had really nice designs that he wanted to put in the film. So, yeah, it was a hard work. Please, questions? Yes. Fortunately, we have some. Yeah.
Oh, hi. I would like to ask you if you had any problems, if the Domestos had any problems with the use of it in the film, because it's, well, questionable.
If you saw the film, there's a disclaimer. After the first time Domestos appears on the screen, or it appears in big on the screen. So, they asked for a specific sentence to be stated during the film, which we couldn't really ignore. So we tried to make it funny, rather. So that was our concept. That's also this. We had to be very rational here. So it wasn't an option for us to say that okay, it won't happen. But we had backup plans. So if Domestos was tricky. But we were really concerned regarding Pelikan Blue as well, because Pelikan is a German paper producing company, or office products company. And what would we call this film if they didn't agree? So Indigo Blue, maybe. Who knows? So sometimes you need luck as well during the production of a film.
I have another question as well. In the Super 8mm sequences, there was shown like the notebook of the forgers. Was this authentic or just a prop?
To be honest, I'm not sure about this, but 2 days ago I was at a special screening where one of the forgers was present, and he took his old passport, which is full of stamps because he traveled to so many countries and he crossed the border so many times. So I can imagine that it was authentic because they have a lot of stuff from back then. They kept them as souvenirs, actually. Maybe that exact notebook was reproduced, I don't know, but we still have some of the objects. And actually, we had a plan to make an exhibition of these objects. There was a museum, a travel museum in Budapest, in Hungary. Right now it's closed temporarily, but hopefully when they reopen, we will have a section for Pelikan Blue, which is dedicated to this train ticket forgery, and where we can exhibit those notebooks and passports and forged train tickets that are left from that period.
If there are no questions at this point, I have a question myself. I wonder what was the legal aspect of the forgery itself. I don't know. I saw the film like 2 weeks ago, so maybe I don't remember it well. But the forgers weren't penalized for what they did. So
it was I don't know how to say it in English exactly, but this is not a major crime. So it's I think it's misdemeanor or something like that. So it's as it is in the film as well. Mostly who were busted received fines, so they had to pay money. I think there was one guy who actually went to prison, but we couldn't reach him. So actually, it's very funny because the policeman, the investigator, talks about this guy, not about Rosie, so not about the guy who was busted and who was interviewed by us. But the two stories are so similar that we could put it together. So we cheated a little bit. It's a documentary, but it's not the whole truth. So actually, this guy investigated the case of Rosie as well, but in the recording, he's talking about this other guy who went to prison. But besides that guy, I don't think anybody was in jail or spent real jail time. And when I met this story, this was already a case that couldn't be prosecuted. So the guys could already talk about it quite openly. They just didn't want it to talk about it. They just didn't want to talk about it because they had rather ethical issues. I think they are between these two narratives. If they are a little bit cheater guys or if they are freedom fighters. And of course, sometimes they feel like this, they feel like that. And I think this film really made them feel more comfortable and feel more like freedom fighters, because we also tried to depict them as a little bit like freedom fighters, but we wanted to keep it objective as well. But I think they are contradictory narratives for them as well. And as I mentioned in the beginning, they didn't want to be publicly, they didn't want to show their faces publicly, but when we came out with the film already, they were absolutely fine with it. And it was funny because we had a screening where we first showed the film to everybody, as every subject who we shot with or who we recorded. And it was in the same cinema for the train ticket forgers and for this policeman. And everybody was a little bit frustrated. So how should I communicate this? And I remember well that I invited the policeman to this screening, and a few minutes later he called me back, and he just told me that if anybody is uncomfortable with my presence, that I won't be, and then I won't be there. So it shouldn't be. They shouldn't be scared. They should know that it's no longer punishable. I don't want to frustrate them. And at the end of the day, everybody was very comfortable with it, and they also talked at the end of this screening. And I wouldn't say that they become friends, but they had a common subject. And actually, this case was very useful for this detective as well, because he was a very young detective, so he was the same age as the guys who forged the tickets. And that case really launched his career, and he became a quite successful policeman or police investigator.
And what about the state funding? Weren't you concerned that the topic of challenging the authorities could be controversial?
Actually, that's the reason why it was rejected in a short form. Mm-hmm. So the short film section was decided by the decision makers of I think it was Hungarian National Film Fund back then. And they didn't want this subject to be in a film. But in this incubator program, there was a different jury. So it was picked by different film professionals, and they didn't work for the film fund. So that's how we could get funded for the long form, and we couldn't get funded for the short form.
Any more questions from the audience? Okay. Adam, would you like to add up maybe something, or can we conclude? We still have some 10 minutes maybe.
I just really want to emphasize here that we always talk about this film as a crime story, which it is. We really wanted to make it an enjoyable ride of nostalgia train, but I'm pretty sure that for Laszlo and for all of us, it's about democracy, and it's about change. And right now we are on the edge of big changes in Europe, in Central Europe especially, regarding democracy. And I think we a little bit forgot to fight, that we have to fight for democracy. And as I work with this movie after its release, I'm just starting to realize its importance. So these guys weren't on the top shelf of history, but still they were active regarding changing their future, and in a sense, I really think they were freedom fighters, even if they did something that was illegal. So maybe that's a message that can that is going to be important even years later, 10 years, 20 years, who knows? But I really hope that this message delivers to all of you and to all of the audiences who watches it.
Thank you very much. If there are no more questions at this point, I think that we can conclude. Thank you very much, Adam, for your insightful presentation.
Thank you for having me once again.
Thanks for accepting our invitation to Bratislava. And the CEE Animation Masterclass number 9 is approaching its end. I would like to encourage you to check out the rest of the program of the Visegrad Film Forum and also of the Febio Fest that is just starting. And please, before we say goodbye, I would like to thank one more time to the organizers, Slovak Association of Animated Film Producers, Visegrad Film Forum, CEE Animation, and the Film and Television Faculty of the Academy of Performing Arts in Bratislava, and also to our financial partners, Slovak Audiovisual Fund and Media Creative Europe. Thank you very much for attending the event, and I hope to see you next year at CEE Animation Masterclass number 9. Have a nice day and see you.